it's Sonia Barrett once again, and today's topic is going to be rules for texting and emailing emotional topics or emotional conversations. All right, so what are the rules for doing that? Don't do it. That's the end of the rules. Just don't do it. Pick up the phone and call, or if you can meet the person face to face, but do not do it through texting and emailing. That kind of content always seems to get misinterpreted. It always ends up with completely different understandings, and even at times when you might not intend for it to be that way or a conversation to be that way, but you may respond to something, and your response for the person on the other end is translated into a completely different emotional interpretation. And that's what it comes down to, the fact that we can't hear each other. We can't hear the tones, the sound of somebody's voice to determine exactly where they're coming from. So, when we write it, when we put it down on the our cell phones, or send an email, whichever way we do it digitally, the person, depending also on the mood they're in that day, or the mood they might be in that moment, whatever they have going on in their minds and their belief systems to begin with, may interpret that the content of that email or text is completely different, and then that turns into something else. Now, and then there are times when you wonder, geez, I haven't heard from this person. How come they haven't gotten back to me? Sometimes that's probably why they haven't gotten back to you, because they've misread what's been said. And the other thing that we have to be conscious of is not to use the text and emails to hide behind, to convey what we feel. We live in a day and age where it's so much easier to hide behind, different ways of having a conversation or saying what we want to say without having to say it face to face. And I think that we have to return to that space where we do that. And we have to be honest with ourselves about why we're choosing to do it the way we're doing it, why we're choosing to send an email, why we're choosing to have this conversation or state what we're saying by by text or email. Once again, we have to really be honest with ourselves, and it's not just a matter of convenience. There are things, sure, that we can do that with. I send texts and emails, but what I have learned is the misinterpretation that can come from an email. Also, the person on the other end that perhaps may tend to be more sensitive, they might also want to step back and really read carefully what has been said and ensure that they're also not adding their own spin to something that's not even there to begin with. And it's, this is all about our brains and of course our belief systems. All of those things come together to help us to interpret what we hear or what we think we hear. We already experience this, not even just digitally, but sometimes in just talking to each other. Someone will hear something completely different than what you've said. They'll have a completely different interpretation, as I've also seen, in my own personal level. And, you'll say, well, I told you, this on this particular day. And then that person will say, no, that's not what you said. And you're like, no, that is what, this is what I said. So we already are hearing something different we're not all hearing the same thing. I do believe we're not all seeing things exactly the same way. I think we are. So with that in mind, we just need to pay attention and really, I think, bring that home, honesty with ourselves as to why we might be choosing to communicate on the platform that we're using. And there's another thing that I wanted to interject, and I also hate when it just goes right by me. But anyway, those are the major reasons why I'm saying this. So I don't really care about all the so-called rules about texting. I just think when it comes to certain things, just don't even put it in a text. Just don't even send an email on it. Say, if you're going to email or text, say, look, you have a moment, I want to talk with you on the phone. Or can we meet up for lunch or whatever, 5 minutes, so that we can talk. I have something I want to, speak with you about. So I think that's the approach that we have to take, and just realize how we're all wired, and what we come to the table with. We come to the table with our deficiencies, of course, and not just our deficiencies, but yes, all of our wonderfulness as well. But at the same time, we are very fragile, very, very fragile beings in our minds. We're very fragile, very sensitive, and so that's a big part of why we get that way. And the other reason is because we are always ready to what? To defend ourselves. We are always ready to defend our position, defend our egos once again, protect ourselves. We are on guard. And because of that, some people more than others maybe, and it depends on what the situation is, but because of that, things do get misinterpreted. So I hope that makes sense, and maybe you might want to think about a couple emails or texts that you may have sent recently or in the past that you haven't had a response, or the person seems to suddenly have maybe a little attitude towards you, or just things that you're scratching your head and you have no idea what happened. Of course, this is on a side note too. Make sure that your phones are hung up before you start talking, before you start saying anything to anybody. If you were just on the phone speaking with someone about a subject matter, make sure that phone is hung up. Been there as well, and I know how that feels when you find out that the person actually was hearing everything that you were saying. I've had other friends who've told me that's happened to them as well. So there is a sensitivity, and then this is where we live now. This is our environment. This is our experience now. And what I wanted to say is, I think that it would be wonderful if we returned more to our telepathic nature. It's clearer if we were able to filter out or just get rid of the ego needing to defend itself, and then we can just freely pick up the information from each other. And we do that anyway. We all do that. But it's almost like we reserve that kind of telepathic ability for our children, picking up things, information, things that we can feel that, or hearing from maybe our spouse, somebody close to you. I know we do that all the time. Oh, I was just going to call you. Oh, did you want to do this, whatever that might be? Do you want me to pick this up? But that you were already thinking it. So we do it anyway, but we reserve it for these certain things. Well, how about let's open that telepathic pathway for everything, so that we can be more tuned in with each other and minimize the misunderstandings, minimize the misinterpretation of what has been said. All right, so communication is key. This is what we do here. This is a big part of it, is communicating with one another. And now we have many ways to communicate now. You know, digital platforms are now the really big thing. So yeah, pay attention to what you say. And if you don't want it, you know, leaving digital footprints, then don't put it in a email or text. Don't send it out, over the airwaves, basically. Don't send it out. Speak to the person, because once it's out there, it is out there, and there is no stopping it. All right, so I'm going to remind you to visit therealsoniabarrett.com, my website, for all kinds of stuff, for the free Wednesday teleconferences, that happen once a month. So that's therealsoniabarrett.com, and all the workshops that I have done. You check out the store with everything in there. Every workshop and lecture that I've ever done is on the website available. And I dive into so much more, so much cutting edge content. So check it out, and all kinds of stuff on the website. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. And what else? Subscribe to my YouTube channel and to the website, so that you can receive updates on events and workshops and, anything that I have going on, anything that I'm giving away, or pretty much just anything at all. Articles, a blog, all of that. The podcast, Sonia Unplugged, which you can listen to on the website as well. All that great stuff. So, again, I thank you so much for tuning in, listening to me, and until next time, see you then.